Welcome back to Tiny T Gaming. Today I'm going to be talking about my thoughts and predictions on the future of the Dark Angels. Now before I get into it, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know that you like the content I'm making, and please comment so that I know what you think and we can have a discussion about all of these points I'm raising below. So getting into it, with the return of Lionel Johnson, it was set to be a really interesting time in the Warhammer 40,000 setting. The Lions returned, the former master of the First Legion, now the second loyalist Primarch to return to the 41st millennium, post-Great Rift that is, and he started gathering the Fallen to him. Well, those that were still loyal anyway. Or those as well who hadn't simply sided with Chaos, so those that were ambiguous in their loyalties. And he started trying to protect the people of the Imperium and work to establish some order in Imperium Nihilus. And we had the first book of that happening, which was the first book in the series called The Lion, Son of the Forest, and that was in 2023, so 2 years ago now. And it was really enjoyable. He woke up not knowing who he was, and he had to sort of come back to understanding who he was, his purpose, and try reuniting his fallen sons, his legionaries, who had been scattered in the opening of the warp storm that saw him put in a coma for 10,000 years. And these legionaries, being the fallen, have been on the run for varying amounts of time, hiding, some of them acting with positive effect for the people of the Imperium, and some ambiguously acting as pirates. But he united them, and it was set to be really exciting. He then, moving forward, is reunited with his chapter, the Dark Angels, and we see that dynamic of the Fallen and the regular Space Marines of the Dark Angels meeting, and the latter being disgusted by the presence of the so-called Fallen, who they have been hunting for 10,000 years. We then have the Lion meeting at the end of the book Dante and learning that Guilliman is in fact alive and that he is not alone. And it's sort of like this sense of hope that maybe something will happen and positive will happen for the Imperium. Now, I understand the setting is grimdark. It's a dark millennium. The Empire of Man is effectively on its knees. Even with the Primaris reinforcements, things are touch and go. But there's so much scope for things to change. Now, I know I am mostly interested in the video game and the lore, the novel side of Warhammer 40,000. I have painted, I have gamed, as in wargaming, but I'm not really into it now purely because of time and different interests and commitments in life, but I do have an understanding of it. But it's sort of the lull that we've seen now has been really disappointing, because there's so much they could do with it, because there are so many fallen out there that whilst they might not have sided with Chaos, they're ambiguous in their loyalties, or there are those that are actively trying to work positively for the Imperium of Man, and he's able to unite them to his side and really make a difference in Imperium Nihilus. But it's not happening. We don't know what's happening. So I would really like to see the Lionel Johnson going out, uniting his fallen, redeeming those who can be redeemed, and killing off those who have fallen to Chaos or refuse to fight for the Imperium once more. Uniting the wayward elements of the Imperium within Imperium Nihilus, and then really seeking to crusade out and defeat the forces of Chaos that he can. Because these legionaries, many of them were veterans of the great early era Great Crusade and the last stage of the Unification Wars. Now, they have so much experience, and it's sort of not really touching on that in the lore right now. And it's a real shame, because Imperium Nihilus, there's so much you can use in that setting, because as I've said before, you've got the Emperor's Spears just fighting out in Alara's Vale. You have different portions of Astartes and Imperial forces holding out. They've been holding out for years, And you also have Cypher and Luther, the former being ambiguous in his loyalties, having fought his way to the throne room almost, and then the latter now escaped from the Rock, but also he's resentful almost of his past indiscretion and his supposed loyalty to Chaos. And it will be interesting if, in fact, he is redeemed. What does that say then if someone who's fallen to Chaos can be redeemed by their Primarch or by the Emperor? Because we obviously had at the culmination of the Dark Millennium trilogy, Guilliman being possessed by the Emperor and on combating Mortarion saying that he could be returned or redeemed. And it'd be really interesting to see that happen, because what does it say for the rest of the setting if someone who's effectively sold their soul to Chaos can be brought back from the brink or can be brought back from damnation? And it'd be quite interesting if we have this sort of resurgence within Imperium Nihilus of the Lion going out crusading and bringing these lost areas back into the Imperial fold, but also going out and campaigning and all the different stories that will entail. And then you have the Dark Angels, the modern Dark Angels, working alongside the old Legion, and the difference in culture, because the Dark Angels now are very, very paranoid. They are untrustworthy. They will leave entire war zones at the hint of a member of the Fallen being present or having the scent of one effectively. And it'd be good to move away from that sort of paranoid setting and that trope, because it's getting kind of old in my opinion. And yes, it was interesting at the start when you had the Space Wolves books and the Dark Angels and the clashing and then a member of the Fallen being present and all of that. But now it's not really a hot topic for Great Crusade era legions to have traitors in their ranks. The White Scars had loads, and then other Imperial forces did as well. And then you had the Black Shield companies, and then you had loyalists within the traitor legions, and then you still got Barthus and Narek, who's hinted with the latest book being released to still somehow be alive and kicking. And then what's happened with him? And you've got all these like elements of the Great Crusade being pushed, or the Horus Heresy I should say, being pushed into the modern setting. So it'd be really good to have a resurgence of the Dark Angels, but also a resurgence of the Lion going out fighting, but also the meeting between him and Guilliman, and what will happen then, what will be said. Will they agree? Probably not. They're not going to agree on everything, but I believe that both are pragmatists, that they realise they need each other and they need to work alongside each other even if they don't agree. Will the Lion gather multiple chapters of his bloodline to go out and fight the enemies of the Imperium? Probably, because he wouldn't agree with the shattering of the legions into chapters. And would Guilliman be able to stop it? No. But would he want to stop it? Equally, no, in my opinion, because it would see the Imperium working in concert with two of its most able Primarchs going out and winning the wars of humanity. Now, obviously, that's not just going to go so smoothly, but that is just my opinion, and that's what I'd really like to see. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will respond to them. We'll have a discussion below. But please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and thanks for watching.